stuff I've done via wrestling is Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and like that's all I know, and that's like the real, like, that's like the real stuff, right? But like when it comes to like the pro wrestling, I know there's like a lot of like good acrobatics and stuff like there. So what I think one of you guys also have a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. Like which one of you guys has the purple belt, and how did you get into pro wrestling aside from doing like professional jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I just, pro wrestling is kind of like how you go to, maybe you go to jiu-jitsu practice after work, something along those lines. Pro wrestling, same deal. You learn that, and you keep on rocking with it until you are good enough to get on shows, which might be determined by your teacher, pretty much determined by your teacher. And then you just kind of go out there, and it's a bit of a networking thing. There's a bit of a paying dues you got to do, and also who you know kind of thing too. So practice-wise, it's practice. There's a certain number of skills we all need to have, so that me and JT can, walk up to each other, not know each other, having met each other, and just say, hey, we're gonna do this, boom, boom, bam, this and the other, and we speak that similar language, and then there will be moves that we're not all necessarily taught in practice, but we can practice with each other pre-show, all that cute stuff.
Because let's say LeRoy was a lot more advanced than I was when we wrestled each other.
What made him more advanced? What made him more advanced than you, JT?
He had more experience. He was in the business a lot longer than me. So it was a lot of things that that I was like, oh, that's cool. I never thought of it like that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure he learned from me as well. But he, like I said, he had a lot more experience than me. So it was kind of like me listening to him, kind of thing.
And JT had a lot of like ability and talent as well, so it was easy to work with him. I don't recall having many issues at all. It was just experience stuff, and the cool thing about wrestling, we help each other out. Like, and that's what it is. The difference in jiu-jitsu, you're doing as much as you can to not help the other person. Right?
and unfortunately, sometimes in the jiu-jitsu community, it can feel like that at times because of the MMA guys. Like jiu-jitsu guys, if that just do jiu-jitsu, they're out there to help one another out. We all come to train together. It's a great environment. The hobbyists and even some of the pro guys that do like IBJJF, they come together. We train together. It's a great time. Jiu-jitsu is one of the few sports where you can actually train with the pros, and you can do it for a relatively cheap price. You can't do that with the NFL or anything like that. But when it comes with like the MMA guys, a lot of them are very much, to put it in the YouTube friendly way, not the greatest people of all time. So it's definitely more of a competitive edge, and not in a good way when it comes to that sort.
Perfect. Guys, I just want to say welcome to the next step version of the Grand Mill podcast. So this is episode 3. You guys are just jumping in right now. Welcome. Salute to everybody in the chat. Salute to my moderator, Bernie. Good to see you, brother. Thank you so much for being on again. So we have a different show tonight. So let me go ahead and show the panels. So it's me as Grand Cam. I'm hosting this. We have FF Matico, we have LeRoy, and we have JT Funk in the house. And the reason why I wanted to get these guys on this podcast episode today was because everyone has an expertise in mindset, health, and fitness that I believe in, and I support, and I also agree with, and I like to hear more about what the information that they hold. And they had come from different and unique backgrounds too. So LeRoy and JT in specific, I've never met people who have been in like amateur wrestling or who have been like, doing the wrestling that's on WWE and WWF and all that from, back in the days. And I think that's pretty cool. And of course, there's health and fitness involved in this. I mean, you can't just do these things without, being like in a certain shape. Like there's some standards that need to be met, right? So I will love to hear LeRoy's perspective about this, JT's perspective, and then I got Chris over here on my right, who is going to be someone who has really transformed his body in like I think the last year, pretty much, Chris.
Well, it's been there's a whole backstory. We'll put it that way.
Well, we're gonna get to that backstory actually too. So I just want to welcome everybody on the panel. My name is Grand Cam. I have a podcast called the Grand Mill Podcast, which I'm planning on retiring soon and making a more dating specific podcast. But I like to separate the next step from the dating stuff just because this is strictly health, fitness, and mindset. I met Chris. So I want to give a background of each person, how I met them, and then I'm going to go ahead and introduce each one in the panel. First, I want to give a shout to Frank for being in the building. Thank you, Frank, for joining us. Really appreciate you, man. Thank you for always supporting my work. I really, really appreciate that. I met Chris. I met Chris through a mastermind group that we're a part of. So, just LeRoy and JT, you guys get to familiarize yourself with like my relationship with Chris. We met each other through this mastermind group that was started by our mutual friend of ours. And Chris has been somebody who's been very who's grown a lot in my eyes. Like I've seen him like really come up mentally, way more sharp. Fitness, like the guy's like super jacked version of Vegeta, which is one of his cartoon idols, which I appreciate that. Chris is one, and he's like the guy that's got your back. Like he will have your back in any situation that you're in, and he wants the best for you. So I really appreciate Chris's friendship. I appreciate his input that he's going to bring on to the podcast today. So I want to say thank you, Chris, for coming on.
Of course, brother.
Absolutely. And now I got to go to, I'm going to go to JT first. I'm going to get to LeRoy, and I'll tell you guys why in a second, because JT was the first person I met, and then I met LeRoy through JT. So JT, I met him through Clubhouse, and we're giving a shout out from Camping is Life. JT is my dude. Thank you so much for Camping is Life for being on the stream right now. Really appreciate you. And we got also NSC Game Boy in the house.
Let me give a shout out to him. I have to.
Yeah,
give a
go
shout
ahead.
To,
Do your thing, brother.
George, because he was the guy who I'm starring in this film called Kingmaker, which he's the producer, filmmaker, and he gave me an opportunity. So definitely a huge shout out to George Burkett, man. He's amazing. So thank you, brother, for believing in me.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Game Boy, NSC Game Boy, for doing that. What's his name?
George.
All right, appreciate you, George. Thank you so much for getting. We need more Georges in our life. We need guys out there that give us kind of guys opportunities. Like if we're well deserving of it, if our mindset is good, we're going in the right direction to help and provide value to other men out there or women. If your advice goes to that far as well, we should be having people like Georges in our life. So thank you, George and everybody else. So JT and I, we met through Clubhouse, and JT was one of the people that stood out for me in our Clubhouse group. He was like very active. I remember it was like on a Saturday we connected, and then it was through Andrea's chat room. And then from there, you invited me to another Clubhouse room. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's like hosting it with like other people. And then JT has a very wild spirit, like a very, fun, exciting spirit to be around. He's very, very cool guy. And I'm happy to finally meet him when I was in San Diego. That was like about a few months ago we met, or like four months ago or something. Had a great time with JT, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again very soon in the future. And then I got LeRoy. LeRoy was discovered through JT, and I found out about LeRoy through what struck me very very positively about LeRoy is that his information is so fucking good. Like and I'm gonna swear on this podcast, by the way, because I like to emphasize shit. So LeRoy's information is fucking good. Like if you please guys follow everybody on this panel right now. I have our Instagrams down on the handle, but I want to say LeRoy information is really, really solid because it has a lot of just, I just resonate with a lot. I mean, I don't want to ruin it for you guys. Like, go out there and just go support his work. I told LeRoy he needs to get on Twitter because his work is definitely Twitter worthy. And Twitter is not a discount, guys. Like, LeRoy's like, I'm not into Twitter that much. I'm like, you got to get on Twitter because what he can do is screenshot those tweets, put it on his Instagram, and then people are going to go follow him on Twitter because LeRoy's got that sage advice. He's also, I'm going to say this on air, that LeRoy has also opened my eyes to be a little bit more open about what masculinity is. So I like to hear, his perspective on it. I like to hear like other people's perspective because I talk about masculinity. I'm a dating coach, so I have my own version of it. LeRoy has kind of opened my eyes to like just think about like other alternative versions of it. And ultimately, guys, it boils down to like what makes you feel comfortable and what makes you feel more like a man and get that respect that you want from your partner, whether gay, straight, doesn't matter. Like wherever your partner is, you just want that respect, that mutual respect for one another. So now that I give everybody their introductions, now I want to give you guys the opportunity to give your own personal introductions. Talk about like where did you come from? Like give us a little bit about your past, what's going on in the present moment, and what's going on in the future for you guys. I'm going to start with Chris. Go ahead, man.
What's up, guys? My name is Chris. My YouTube channel, YouTube is also Frame Fitness and Fighting. Instagram is FFFmatico. So a little bit about me. I grew up in the city of Philadelphia. From there, I was the fat kid in middle school, right? Like I was always I was like the little beta kid, the one who always got picked on, who was like the anime nerd, right? I was a little pudgy kid, right? And what ended up happening was that I ended up getting made fun of. I saw a lot of people around me, and they are all like, relatively fit. They were on the football team and all that type of stuff, and they all had like girlfriends. And I grew up with something called Asperger's, so it was not only just that the fact that I was a little bit pudgy, but the fact that I was also socially inept. So in high school, I ended up going into an art school. And when I went into the art school, it was 70% girls, 30% guys. So obviously, 70% girls, 30% guys. You know, you have a choice to make right there if you want to get a girlfriend, right? And you know, I made the choice to get fit, and you know, it was successful and all that type of stuff. But I wasn't really having outside of like a couple of relationships. I didn't really have that much success. But as time went along, I started doing jujitsu. I kind of got a little bit thinner and all that other type of stuff. I got a little bit more lean. And then I got into a group, another mastermind group, where Cam and I ended up meeting through a certain man that lives in the country of Japan. And we ended up linking up through there. And I did one of their courses. It ended up improving my financial life. It ended up improving my dating life. Let's just say a lot of things happened that were great within that year, and more is to come. And obviously from there, I had a hard look back at what I was looking at in my life. And then I was like, you know what? If I really want to change my life, it has to be the physical first. And without the physical, in my personal opinion, the physical is the easy stuff. Once you can change your physical appearance, you can change almost everything else. So you can change your money, your muscles, your frame, game, all that other type of stuff. Once you change the muscles first, everything else is going to be easier to follow, because when you take it upon your body, that's like the one like biggest hurdle you can get by. But once you see how easy it is, everything else becomes easier. And because of that, like the Lord and Savior Vegeta on my side, basically, you know, that type of stuff. We just go from there, and we're just improving from there. So mad respect to Cam, mad respect to the man in Japan, and all that other type of stuff. So that's where I originally came from, and all that sort.
Prince Vegeta for the win. Okay, let's go to my man JT Funk.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I am JT Funk, and I am a professional wrestler. I've been perfecting my craft for 6 years now. And it's literally the only thing I ever wanted to do since I was a kid. I think I was about 7 years old, and you know, the teachers used to ask me, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And my answer was always the same: professional wrestler. We laugh and joke about it now because I'm still in contact with my elementary school teachers, and they say that their first story is I asked him what he wanted to be when he wanted to grow up, and he said professional wrestler, and everybody laughed and blah 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 blah. And now look at you. So that's honestly the only thing I wanted to do. But I was born and raised in inner city called Trenton, New Jersey. So I grew up in a very rough neighborhood, very rough environment. And I seen the route that a lot of my friends and stuff were going, and I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of here, but I know I'm gonna get out of here, and I know I'm gonna be a professional wrestler. But it seems so unrealistic. But I was somehow able to do it. I saw a local flyer because I had dropped out of college about 2 semesters in. I dropped out, and I saw a flyer promoting a local wrestling event, and I had no idea that local indie wrestling existed at the time. I just thought it was WWE, you know, the major corporations. And yeah, on the back of it, it had like a training school with a number on there, and I called it immediately, and I spoke to my trainer, and you know, here we are now. But so like Cam mentioned earlier about the Clubhouse app, I've always, you know, loved traveling, and, you know, being a professional wrestler for me was always amazing. You know, I always enjoyed it. Right. But I was always trying to think outside the box. How can I reach those who don't really watch wrestling? And Clubhouse fell into my laps. That's how I met Cam. And it's been so amazing for me. And I've been able to transform to like that philanthropy role, you know, with more of giving back, and, you know, more of people can see what I can offer aside from me being a professional wrestler. You know, I'm doing a lot of community work, and that just started I think it initially started with the pandemic. I couldn't wrestle, you know, because everything was closed. And then like, you know, once I, you know, got introduced to Clubhouse, it was just a whole nother world, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, how can I please to those who don't like wrestling? You know what I mean? And yeah, Clubhouse has changed the game completely. So now I'm in a process of getting a community center built next year in my neighborhood to kind of give back. I've donated, you know, I've done a lot of community work. So I'm just so pleased. And wrestling has given me the platform to do so. You know what I'm saying? Because when people hear that you're a professional wrestler, they're like, wow, you know, but there's more. I'm not just a professional wrestler, you know what I mean? So yeah, wrestling has been really good to me, but now it's time to take it up a notch. You know, a lot of people always compare me, oh, you're trying to be the next Rock, you know. So I don't know what the future holds, but whatever it is, giving back is one of the things that I really, really adore. And I feel like that's another passion of mine. So, yep.
Oh yeah, JT, that's one of my passions as well. And I'd love to hear I love to hear all the success
Yeah.
that you're having so far, brother.
If you don't mind, I was going to say
yeah.
the one good thing I can tell about JT is that, like, when I first saw you, like, your Instagram, a lot of it was like philanthropy work. And I was like, this guy's a genuinely good dude. The Rock wouldn't do anything like this. This guy's a genuinely good dude, and he means what he does. So, mad respect to you, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for serving the community, man. I'd love to do that kind of work as well. So that's good stuff that we're all like involved in some shape or form to benefit our community. Blockchain Mac is in the building, guys. Blockchain Mac is a cryptocurrency. He's one of the cryptocurrency guys that got into the game before like a lot of people are getting into it. So he knows what he's talking about. So I don't know, Andy, if you are Andy, who's Blockchain Mac. I don't know if you're still producing any crypto work, man. But if if you are, please let us know in the comments so we can support your work as well. Now, let's get to LeRoy. All right, let me pull up LeRoy over here. All right, brother, go ahead.
Thanks, guys. My story, not dissimilar from JT from Chicago. I always wanted to be a wrestler. I guess it kind of strings together pretty well. So I did always want to be a wrestler, but I definitely was a person who got the, oh, that's stupid, you'll never do that, blah blah blah, like all the bullshit that people have to say about other people's dreams. And I definitely sat on my dream to be a professional wrestler for many years. I didn't start until I was 24. I'm not sure when how old JT was when he started, but for me 19. That felt like 19. Yeah, so that felt like I had a really late start there. But I did a lot with the time that I had in wrestling, and I still, I did get back in the ring last month. I do intend on wrestling a little bit longer, but it's not what my like main thing is. But it definitely something I attribute to kind of giving me my life, kind of taking it back a bit before I wrestled. And before wrestling was a major thing for me, I got into fitness. I've been a fitness professional for 12 years at this point, which is crazy to have done anything over 10 years, right? It means you're getting a little old, right? So I did that as most of my professional career, and really working through that, I grew fascinated with how people's like minds worked, like how they went from, we can do all the physical stuff, but if the mind's not right, like you can drop 100 pounds and be right back putting that weight back on. If you don't have the mental foundation to deal with what you need to deal with, that kind of maybe got you to that added 100 pounds in the first place, or whatever that goal is. If you want to get beyond that, the mindset aspect is really so important. So it kind of, I still work in fitness now as I am creating this online coaching business so I can help individuals get past what's blocking them mentally and get them to their next level. So I grew fascinated more so. The body stuff is really interesting. It's not as interesting to me. It's always important to me to always be part of my life and what I do, but I'm really fascinated with helping people get their minds right. And my journey with professional wrestling was my journey to getting my mind right, and it's still a journey. It'll probably always be a journey, but my background in jiu-jitsu was some sort of substitute for pro wrestling, because jiu-jitsu was real. It's real, so people will respect it more than they'll respect wrestling. So I did that for 5 years, fucking loved it. I think I did really, really well for myself, going up to being a purple belt, etc. But I got to a point where I was highly, highly dissatisfied, damn near depressed with my life, because I wasn't doing what truly called to me. And not too dissimilar from JT's story, I found a wrestling school, got started, and the rest is history. And then, about 8 years later, I find myself here wanting to help other people do the same and get their minds right. So that's a bit of the past. I guess the present is me building this coaching thing, and the future is hundreds of people getting their dreams, finding out their dreams, and getting over what they need to do to accomplish it. So that's where I'm at.
Damn. Okay. I like that. Now I got to say one thing that stood out for me and LeRoy's introduction was when he mentioned that the wrestling was his path to getting his mind right. And that's pretty funny, because I say funny in a coincidental way. Like it literally, I was doing the same thing too. What I didn't realize was that me starting a podcast actually was helping me with my own self-development, helping me discover who the hell I was. I mean, it's funny. Like Chris and I can relate on this. That since him and I, we share the same background. We come from the same mentor who lives in Japan. When you have this new sense of information, this new truth, right? Like we're kind of like in mindset right now. We're talking about mindset. So when you get all this information, then you got to apply it. You got to go out and do something about it. So if you go to a money seminar, you want to like apply the principles that you've been taught. You want to apply the strategies you've been taught so you can make money and get rich, whatever your financial goals are. Same thing with dating. Like I went to this guy for dating reasons. Chris, did you go for him also for dating, or did you go for other reasons?
So when it came with the dating stuff, I watched his videos and I kind of understood the dating aspect to a better degree. I really went for him for the mindset stuff because I knew if I was going to get better in my dating life and if I was going to actually have a long-lasting relationship, this had to get right first before I can bring someone else into my life, right? And I think we can all agree to that. You have to get your mind right before you can actually get, the girl of your dreams and all that sort, right? Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes to the mindset stuff, he helped me out a lot. But one of the biggest things, actually, it wasn't jiu-jitsu, it was actually weightlifting. And I do have to thank my coach, Randy Aiken, at Araxis Jiu-Jitsu, for helping me with that as well, because without him, I wouldn't have gotten back into weightlifting. See, I've actually been weightlifting since I was in high school. And the reason why I took it a lot more seriously was because of him. And I'll tell you one thing, and I think LeRoy can attest to this because, he, I don't know where the direction, this way, yeah, LeRoy can attest to this. This is the direction, right? Yeah, exactly. Is that when you're naturally good at something, you're not going to be humble about it, and that's just the way it's going to be. Exactly, Ken, the struggle, right? Is when you're naturally good at something, you're not going to be initially humble to it until you start actually applying yourself, and that's where the weightlifting came in. Weightlifting was a big thing that humbled me, especially when I first tried to squat my first 315. I literally face planted into the wood trying to do it, and it was like, God damn it, I can't do it yet. But as time goes on, you got to humble yourself to the weight. You got to build up to it, right? And that's the basic thing about life. You have to build up to those things. You have to understand these concepts in order to achieve the mindset that you want, so you can actually conquer anything that's in front of you.
Yeah, I think just having that journey of like creating the podcast, like and then also just changing. I think like once you just gather this information, you need to do something with it. You can't just like harbor it and do nothing about it. I mean, in our space, guys, for JT and LeRoy, like in our men's self-help space, a lot of guys, they learn this information, but they don't really do anything about it. They don't practice it. They don't go approach the girl that they're interested in. They don't approach.
Well, it's not even just that, right? It's not even just that. It's that, okay, you're given this information. Now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to be good with it, or are you going to be, or not going to do anything with it, or are you going to be immoral with it, which is another big problem.
Yeah, you could be
a lot of guys out there that will go into jiu-jitsu to, they'll get a black belt, and now we're going to open up a school. Oh, this is how I'm going to get the girls and all that type of stuff. No, that's disgusting, bro. Why would you do that?
Yeah, there's a responsibility.
I'm going to go into these powerlifting gyms so I can hit on all the girls. What the hell is wrong with you, dude? Like, that's creepy shit. Like, why would you do that?
Is there anybody, guys, to LeRoy and JT, are there anybody, like, what's a certain personality that's required to get into professional wrestling? Like, is there a specific, like, personality you should have? Like, can a shy person who's just physically fit and likes to entertain people, can he or she get into wrestling?
Surprisingly, yes. And the fascinating thing about professional wrestling is it's entertainment. So you have so many different people from different walks of life. You know what I'm saying? And believe it or not, there are a lot of professional wrestlers that are really shy. But when the camera and the lights come on, they're a whole different person. You know what I'm saying? Because they believe in this character. So yeah, most definitely.
I'd say there's more socially awkward people in wrestling than you would ever believe. Like, people cannot look you in the eye. You know what I mean? It's wild, but really anyone who wants to learn can be a good professional wrestler. You come with that spirit of learning, and if you don't, you find your way out real quick. So you can be almost any type of personality as long as you're willing to learn and work well with people.
Absolutely.
Now, is there for professional wrestling, is there some kind of like certification course or anything you should know beforehand before you get into this? Like, is there, because, before I got into, being a dating coach and considering myself as a suitable or as a someone who knows what he's talking about when it comes to dating, I had to really go through rigorous training, not just through one person, but I went through like multiple mentors. I went through multiple books. I went through multiple theories I used to believe in, and then I end up disputing them or end up like going against them because I don't believe in them anymore. I grew out of them or something. What about for professional wrestling? Is there anything like that out there?
Wrestling is on the job training. You just go and you get trained first. That's all. You got to go to the school, get trained. There's no getting ready for it. I wasted a year. I forgot that I did this, but I wasted a year getting big enough. And then I get there and everyone looks like smaller and scrawnier, weaker than I was before I took my year to get there, you know? So there is no getting ready for it unless you are absolutely so deconditioned, like haven't done anything athletic at all in your life. Wrestling will get you ready for wrestling. And then, of course, they will tell you you also need to eat right and lift and stuff. So, you know, physically, that little piece and the rest of it, you come, you learn. Once you've reached a certain level and begin doing shows, you're not, you know, you're not like great, but you can do a match and you can entertain and you have some semblance of a character. But really, the growth happens on the job, really, as I kind of alluded.
Definitely a lot of repetition. You know what I'm saying? It has to be repeatedly over and over and over again until it becomes second nature. Like my first couple months in, it was very hard for me. Surprisingly, even though I was agile and athletic, I never did any sports and ever. I didn't do any sports prior to wrestling. So a lot of people didn't know that, but I just wasn't I really wasn't into sports. It was only professional wrestling. Like I had a chance to do try out for the wrestling team. I didn't want to do it.
Even high school wrestling, you didn't want to do it?
Nope.
Okay.
That's a different animal completely, and I can get into that.
Oh, for sure. It is a different animal, but I'm just curious because I thought, like, you know, maybe since he was interested in the professional wrestling, I thought maybe potentially like that could be, you know, him to say, oh, well, let me give it a test or something like that. But it is an absolute different ball game. If you look at Olympic wrestling versus like the professional wrestling we see on the TV, it's way different for sure.
There's things that translate for sure. Some of the best wrestlers in history were, you know, wrestlers in high school and even college. Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that was one.
Bobby Lashley. And those are like top names off the top of my head, but a ton of them were normal. You know, the mat style of wrestling can prepare you for professional wrestling. I also didn't wrestle in high school, but I didn't have it in my high school. But jiu-jitsu helped a fuck ton. You know, it's very, you know, very similar to wrestling, different objectives, of course, but the mat skills, moving around on the ground, moving your body in that way, very, very translatable to wrestling and definitely helped me succeed.
Yeah, and I've rolled with some. Believe it or not, actually, you know, Cam, you're about to learn something right now. Once upon a time, I had one pro jiu-jitsu fight. It didn't go my way, but I learned a lot from it, and a lot of stuff that led up to that point, I learned a lot about. So there's a lot of stuff with health and fitness where when you decide to do professional jiu-jitsu, it's completely different than any pro wrestling, and it's a lot more similar to actual like Greco-Roman freestyle wrestling, especially when it comes with like the weight cut and all that sort. So,
Chris, you blacked out on your screen.
Yeah,
I mean,
all's good.
Not to mention, man, I respect all different sports and different fields, but professional wrestling is not a joke. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of guys that I trained with who did professional football, who did college football, and they could not keep up with the cardio. It was very hard. And I'm just like, wow, like you did professional football in high school and college, like, you know, but it's a different ball game, you know. So I just like to respect all of what everybody do and respect what I do. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot of hard work and a lot of training that goes into it. I've seen so many guys come in training thinking, oh yeah, this is gonna be easy, man. This is fake. I can do it. And they was throwing up the first 5 minutes, and I'm like, So
it's funny.
Professional wrestling is no joke. You know, it's a respect thing, you know. So a lot of guys that walk through there, it's just you just have to respect what we do. If not, you'll find out why it's a lot of respect.
It's funny because even with my girlfriend, we did a breath work session together, and I'm like thinking like, what the fuck is breath work, and how's that even like beneficial? And I'm like, well, what do I do? I just go the whole time, and she's like, no, it's different, and like, let me show you. So I did about 26 minutes of it, and I had like a personal breakthrough for myself after doing it, and then I had a breakthrough with her also, and I was just like, wow, this shit's no freaking joke. And she like teaches it and like helps people with it, so I can respect that. I mean, I know that on the TV, people like hear like the springs on like, let's say on the matches, but you know what? Everybody on the wrestling floor on the ground, but you know what? Everybody has their own different like kind of cardio, different strength training, like tennis, even tennis. Soccer. Like soccer is rigorous. I mean, in high school when I did soccer, like, we had to do frog leaps and all these like all these crazy conditioning things that hurt like a MF the whole time. So I was just like, but
on a podcast.
yeah, I guess, whatever. I said I was going to cuss my podcast, so whatever. So motherfucking, sports and all that shit. Sometimes I may do, sometimes I may not. But I want to ask you guys a question. So let's start with JT on this. JT, then I'd like to go to LeRoy, and then I'll go to Chris after. JT, what are your thoughts on, pressure in the fitness industry, or pressure from, like, let's say your own professional wrestling? Not to call out names of anybody or like that, but is there like this kind of like this, it's like a hidden not an agenda, but like a hidden standard that people like, kind of how like models, they are under pressure to look very thin, and for Victoria's Secret fashion shows or whatever, so they will resort to, let's say, eating unhealthy habits or diets just so they can stay super lean. Is there anything like that in professional wrestling that you have to go through, or like anyone who's instructed you to ever do that?
I think a lot of the big companies like WWE, AEW, they're more like, they want a lot of bigger guys. You know what I'm saying? So when I had my tryout, they was really impressed with everything that I did, but they just told me I was too small. So from like a mainstream aspect that I'm learning more and more about, they want their guys to be not so more bigger, but like more physically fit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think the pressure is there for that next level, but for indie wrestling, it's kind of like, do whatever you want, look how you want to look, honestly. But I don't know. It just depends on what if you're trying to get signed by these major corporations, then I think you should start working out. You should start doing different things like that to be what they want, but like wrestling locally and independently, it's just however you want to look, you know what I mean? But I believe that all wrestlers should at least look up to par to some, you know what I mean? It's some guys that look at and I'm just like, is he really a wrestler? Okay. Because I think when it translates to different genres and people that don't really watch wrestling see us and they look at you and you like, you this small guy, you don't look, it's not a real muscle bone in your body, that's where people kind of question what we do, so I just think that you should look up to par, and look like an athlete at some capacity, if that makes sense. But most guys that I know wrestle on the indie level, no, they just look how they want to look, honestly. But I think when you starting to WWE look at you, or AEW, or those major corporations, I think that's where the pressure probably might be a little bit more severe, if that makes sense.
Do you have a fitness goal that you're trying to achieve, or some kind of look that you're trying to achieve?
Yes, but my issue is I don't go to the gym. I'm not a gym guy. I do a lot of calisthenics, so holding my own weight. So I think what that is, not only I'm just maintaining and I'm just being ripped. I'm not putting that muscle mass on that I need, but I'm in physically fit and I do a lot of cardio. So that's the issue I'm running in with. But my diet is just like, I'm just like really watching what I eat, and I feel like I don't eat enough protein. But I'm just maintaining. It's even hard to maintain, to be honest with you. But yeah, man. Yeah. I think the most important thing with my profession is cardio, and a lot of guys that work out that are really big and fit, their cardio is not that good. And I'm like, man, it's no way you'll get signed to WWE if your cardio is not there, I mean, go in there and have a 10-minute match, no problem, without being blown up. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's where I'm at with it, man. Like I said, I still work out. I still do what I'm supposed to do because I'm an athlete, and I like to eat healthy. But I'm just taking my time, man.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. I just realized also, like during these like, let's say indie wrestling. I don't know if I know in WWE because I see it on TV, but in indie wrestling also there's conversations where you guys are like, heckling each other, or you guys are like trying to go against each other, like to create rivalries. Isn't that happening in indie wrestling too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It's
so that revolves
storytelling.
yeah. So exactly the storytelling. So I mean, imagine if you guys just went in the ring, just fought each other, it wouldn't be as cool. You need some dialogue. There needs to be background between, let's say, JT versus LeRoy or something like that. And there needs to be some kind of dialogue. I mean, otherwise, and then also that requires you breathing and you actually saying something. That like if you guys look at this after an NBA game or a football game, when the reporter goes up and says, "Hey, how do you think about today's game?" Like when, and the guy's like, "We played hard. We did a very good job." That also requires some level of finesse and being able to just maintain all that energy and save some of your lung capacity for talking and like
I'm
yelling
glad
and
that you
stuff.
brought that up. I'm so glad that you brought that up because like my first couple months of training, my training was so heavy on footwork, foot movement, and like a lot of people that are trained to run the ropes, they're taught running the ropes 3 steps, but my trainer teaches us to run the ropes in 2 steps. But if you have a bigger ring, LeRoy knows if it's a bigger ring, like a 24 by 24, it's impossible to run in 2 steps. It's 3 steps. But most of the rings, I'm able to run the ropes in two steps. But a lot of that goes into minimizing your steps and preserving your breathing so you won't be so blown up a lot of times when you hit the rope. A lot of guys that hit the ropes, like, they're blown up. And he's like, so when I teach guys to run the ropes, I'm like, practice breathing in and out, inhale, exhale. Because if you have to do a 7-minute match and you run in the ropes the first minute, you're going to be blown up. So that breathing technique is very crucial because you can go out there and have a 15, 20-minute match, and you killing time. Oh, I dropped my phone. And you can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we're good.
And you killing time. So that footwork and footwork and just practicing those breathing techniques is very important. It saved me so much time. And it helped me to get to the next level because I'm able to practice these breathings. So, yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you said that because it makes sense.
LeRoy, you unmuted yourself. Feel free to add what we're talking about so far, my man.
Oh no, I mean, if we can keep things rolling, I can talk about pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I essentially asked JT the question, but I'm really want to hear your take on this as well, LeRoy. Like the pressure, we can talk about the breathing aspect, everything. What JT has discussed so far.
Yeah, the kind of pressure, I guess we have the same kind, and it's when you get to the higher levels that they care about what you look. In indie wrestling, there's guys who learned how to wrestle, they don't go to wrestling practice or workout anymore, and they just show up for the show. And I find that frankly unacceptable, but it is what's standard and what's normal in indie wrestling. I have always only wanted to get to the top, and that goes probably shifted by this point, but I always only wanted to get to the top. So I'm like, what's WWE standards? Okay, I need to be this big, look this ripped, etc. I've kind of relaxed that myself personally. I'm still working on some pandemic weight, getting that off, you know what I mean? And very happy where I am. I maintain a paleo diet now, or paleo-ish diet, where I'd say paleo for about 70 to 80% of the week, and then the rest I let it go a little bit. But generally clean, workout with weights, cardio, 4 times a week, a little yoga, a couple times a week, to mostly working out to feel good and letting my diet take care of how I look, and it's been going well. And I've definitely, taken the pressure off of myself, not only because WWE may not be the top goal anymore, but also seeing that there's range. You should look like you can fight. You should look like you're intimidating. You can look cool, but you just can't be like small looking, weak looking, like fans can take you. That's it.
That's a very good point. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Fans can take you. What are they paying to see you for? They
Damn, that was.
Even the smallest guy on the roster and be like, yo, that man can kick my ass. So whatever there's so much range there. And the general idea is health, fitness, and like you are an athlete.
And I wanted to add on to that too. I'm glad that you brought that up, because I always thought to myself, you know, I came to my trainer, my first day of training. I'm like, you know, I'm small, man. I don't think I can really, just negative, right? And he goes, well, why do you think UFC fighters that are small or taken very serious? He said it's all about the facials, it's the presentation. And I started to think about it like, wow. And then as you know, years later, and I started to see small guys like Crispin Wide, Daniel Bryan, you know, a lot of these smaller guys who had that intensity. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of adopted those in my matches, and it is translated. You know what I'm saying? Believability. You know, people have to believe what you're doing. You have to believe what you're doing. So my facials, you know, I'm gonna, okay, I come out, JT Funk, but when it's time to go, when the bell ring, it's time to go. And I'm gonna kick his ass. And I mean it.
The intensity, so key.
Key. I can attest to that when it comes to the UFC fighter stuff, because when you're doing jiu-jitsu, it all depending on what gym you go to. Sometimes, you know, if it's like a home like, you know, like a small competition like home, a lot of like the local gyms, you know, just go in with whatever you weigh. If you go to like, you know, one of the more bigger MMA gyms, and even if you're just like a common person, yo, you cut 10 pounds, all right, let's go. Because, you know, it's like back when I was doing jiu-jitsu, the first place where I started, it was an MMA gym. Actually, if you guys know the UFC, do you know the Dawkins brothers? Yeah. I originally started at that gym, and it was very much go, 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 go. You're rolling in like 100-degree weather. And a lot of these, you know, basic common guys, you know, they would be cutting 10 pounds, you know, to go down to like a common, you know, battle at the beach competition. And I ended up adopting that mentality. Was it the healthiest mentality? Probably not. But I remember I was going for like 170 on all the local competitions I did. I went from 170 pounds to 155 to make the weight. Weigh in, I did well. Was it the most healthiest thing on the planet? Probably not. Do I take accountability for doing it? Absolutely. But, you know, to a degree, if you want to get to that higher tier, there are going to be a certain look. There is a certain weight that you have to get to that higher level competition, whether it be in jiu-jitsu or in MMA. So to what you're saying, yes, there is a certain physical feature that you need to have, and you need to achieve it, especially if you're doing mixed martial arts or any of those type of things.
I'll even say this, that like having fitness being a key part of my life, I think I started taking it more seriously once I graduated from undergrad. And then once I did that and I got a trainer to help me, and I just feel different about the way I walk, the way I approach people. You know, I feel like giving a firm handshake whenever I've like lifted a lot of weight. And I feel like, you know, you should always be giving a firm handshake no matter what, even if you don't work out. But the point is that it helps you build this like level of confidence you don't think you ever had. And, you know, just to have your like chest kind of out and your shoulders to be broad. And when you walk around, like, you know, the kind of t-shirt that like LeRoy is wearing is like a nice fitted shirt. And when you walk around and you feel like you're protecting yourself, you know, I mean, our ancestors were always in shape. I mean, they were like, or if they had the privilege to like, you know, be big, really big, then they were big. And I think I think as human beings, we're doing a disservice to ourselves if we don't work on our fitness. Doesn't mean you have to be super jack alpha male like Giga Chad 9000. You just be whatever version of guy you want to be. And as long as you're just healthy, you're eating clean. Because there's another thing, man. I go to Zoo Culture, and that's a gym in Los Angeles that's filled with Instagram and TikTok influencers and stuff like that. A lot of these guys, like, they do take some kind of like, I don't know, some alternative substitution to get themselves bigger. I mean, let them do their thing. I'm personally not a proponent of that. But, you know, if it helps you get money, it helps you live a more abundant life, then sure. I mean, just accept the consequences of your health. You know, potentially deteriorating because of the things that you take. So I've always been like the natural one. But again, like for me personally, fitness has changed my life. It made me more confident. And I guess like the societal pressure that I ever felt to you guys, you know, I've ever felt, guys, is that, you know, have 6-pack abs. Big calves. I'm still working on having big calves. It's so freaking hard. It's so freaking hard. What did you say, LeRoy?
The calves are rough. It's some of the toughest muscles to build.
It's one of the smaller ones. It's like your bicep, right? Because the calves are the smallest muscles of the leg. The bicep is the smallest muscle of the arm. So everyone sees the big calves, the big biceps, yet they don't really know how to make it even look big in the first place. Right.
I did not know that. So,
oh yeah.
And I'm an athlete. I feel bad.
Don't tell them.
Don't gotta understand it, just gotta do it.
So for me, like what made me started taking my fitness and all that serious was I was wrestling for about a year. I was a year in, and my appendix almost ruptured. I had to have emergency surgery. This was in 2014. I started training in 2013 for pro wrestling, and early 2014, my appendix almost ruptured. I was just feeling pain in my stomach and stuff, and lower abdomen. And I went to the ER, and then they told me the news that I need to be rushed emergency surgery. And so it was at that point, and none of the doctors could tell me what the issue was. And it took from my stepmother, who was a vegan at the time, and she said, "I know exactly what the issue was. It was your diet. You eat really bad." And I was like, I was currently working at McDonald's at the time, and that's literally all I ate, right?
Oh shit!
And I was a lot thinner.
How old were you?
I was a lot smaller then than I am now. I'm heavier than I ever been, but I was a lot thinner.
How old were you?
And it almost killed me. And that's at that point when I got out of that hospital, I said, yeah, I have to do better, eat better, live better. And I mean, it wasn't an overnight thing, right? I didn't leave the hospital and was like, all right, I'm done completely, It just took some time, and little by little I started cutting things out, start cutting salt out, start cutting like red meat out, and just working my way, and I feel like even though I'm a lot older now, I feel so much more better physically, mentally, emotionally now as a 27-year-old man as I did when I was like 20 years old, which that was like 7 years ago, right? So I feel like I can do anything, you know what I'm saying? So my philosophy is whether you work out or not, it really, really depends on what you put in your body. That's really what it boils down to. And I feel like I can do anything because of my diet, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and
how old were you, JT?
Primal Studies for saying this right here. You can always be doing as much stuff as you can. I don't care if you're able to squat 500 odd pounds. The amount of people I see who are obese powerlifters is immense. It's ridiculous the amount I see. And the fact is this: do you think that they're going to be living a long life, a good life of longevity? Absolutely not. I mean, even like for me personally, it's hard for me to even eat like Rita's water ice, right? And the thing is, like, I'll never forget my boss, as like a treat, she bought us all that, and I'm eating it. I'm like, why does right here? Why does this hurt so bad? It's because I haven't eaten that much sugar in a long time. If you're not able to process that much sugar, you're gonna be fucking hurting. And just having that good lifestyle, you prevent a lot of that pain, and you realize what bad shit is being put in your body because you're either getting a lot of pain, or B, here's another one. If you're getting a lot of acne and you're in your 20s, your diet is shit. I'm going to repeat that again. If you're getting a lot of acne around your body, you're eating too many greasy foods. So, for instance, if you're one of these common kids that are too busy getting drunk on the weekends, eating that Taco Bell shit, right? You're eating them freaking McDonald's.
I feel offended.
Hey, I didn't say, listen, Cam, I didn't say Del Taco, okay? I didn't go full out Cali on you.
Just add them.
If you're eating a lot of that type of stuff and you're always getting like pimples everywhere, that's a key indicator that your diet's crap.
Yep, facts. And JT, the Grand Mill podcast wants to know, how old were you when that happened to your appendix?
I was 20 years old.
Damn, 20 years old. So I mean, that just shows that I wanted to ask that question because it just shows it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s or in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you think you're invincible. I mean, JT literally just told us right now that his appendix started hurting at 20 years of age. That's a big freaking deal, man.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. And we have Bernie saying Taco Tuesday is key. Grant. Absolutely. Taco Tuesday
I didn't say tacos were unhealthy. I said Taco Bell because 70% of that stuff is like what? Wood carving or some shit?
And you know what people... And guys, like I'm sure, like LeRoy, what do you have any alternative foods? Like, let's just say someone wants to do a Taco Tuesday thing, right? Like, for example, what I bought is I have this one carb tortilla that has only like 15 calories per tortilla. It's called it's by the brand Mr. Tortilla. And for example, if I want tacos, I'll get those like wheat multigrain style tacos. Yes, it's not corn or flour, guys. I know that, but it's still like a pretty delicious multigrain tortilla. I'll put ground turkey in it, and I'll put some like pepper or whatever, and make like a healthy alternative version of it, right? So Leroy, that's what I do. I mean, do you have like any suggestions for like for our audience, for people who like to eat the greasy stuff? Like I still love eating greasy shit all the time. You know, do you have any alternatives for guys and the men and women who are watching this? What can they do to like eat, still not lose like the ability, not lose the junk food cravings that they have, but do a more healthy alternative version? Or what can they do to start doing that?
Oh yeah, I'm not the best authority on this necessarily, but yeah, primal studies, great idea. Diet does not have to be perfect 80-20. I was going to say something along those lines. I mean, it's almost kind of like what I said, 80% paleo. Paleo is grain-free, basically heavily protein focused for the most part, and I'd say I'd still eat, you know, the meats that I enjoy, probably higher quality meats. And, you know, if it's a budget thing, you know, look for those that maybe are the fat quantity within the meat's probably a little bit less, but you still want certain fats for sure. You know, grain-free alternatives aren't very easy for everyone.
Right.
But even you know, those sort of foods have come a long way versus what was considered diet food a few years ago, as far as like taste and it being satisfying. So you know, it depends on your style of eating. But the alternatives are definitely out there. It doesn't take a ton of research to kind of find what you need. Definitely have an open mind, and most of all, like I think what gets me by is knowing that, oh, I can still have my favorite foods, just not nearly as much as I would have had it if I didn't give a fuck about my diet, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's
and also
sugar is a beast.
a good way to look at it, Leroy.
Is a beast. I when I first started the paleo deal, I was like, oh, it's gonna suck without candy, but like like, you know, having some different kind of candies or something that was a lot lower sugar or whatever along those lines. Like I see my stuff, like the stuff I used to eat. Smart Sweets is a big thing if you're a candy person. Target has them, and it's a very low sugar, still, you know, very satisfying kind of candy kind of thing, but sugar's a lot less. And I see the candy that I would usually eat, and it's like not as attractive as it used to be. And sugar, like I don't have the cravings as I used to. And it's like, if you can find a way to like pull away from a lot of this stuff just a little bit, you'll find that those cravings that once like had you don't have you as much, and you can enjoy a little bit here and there, and not have it dominate your diet.
Yeah. And in addition, the other thing I want to add to this, because we're talking about diet as well, you know, one of the biggest things is that it's not exactly what you're eating, it's what you're drinking. That's a big thing that people don't they don't seem to understand this quite yet, right? Exactly. So drinking water, that's going to help you a lot. Drinking a lot of the good stuff, right? You know, drinking tea, black coffee, that's a big one. If any of you guys, you're starting to work out and you need some energy, black coffee, get an Americano at Starbucks. You chug that one down, you're going to have some good energy right there. And especially if we're talking about red meat, right? Here's the thing. Peanut butter M&Ms get me every time. No, Reese's get me sometimes too, bro. I'm not even going to lie, but I'm more of a pastry guy myself. And pastries, I think, are a little bit more healthier than candy, because a lot of candy is uber processed. If you get something from a bakery, it's a lot more fresh. That's the one thing I always preach to anyone who wants to get more fit. Eat more fresh foods to get better results, and it's going to make you feel more fuller, and it actually makes you have a better event. And now here's the other thing as well when it comes to the red meat. I eat a lot of red meat personally, because here's the thing. If you're a guy and you're looking to gain muscle, or even if you're a girl and you're looking to gain more muscle, red meat is a key component to building a lot more testosterone. Testosterone, A, is going to give you a lot, even though red meat may raise your cholesterol, not all cholesterol is bad. But obviously, we're in America, cholesterol, there is a big problem. Cholesterol is not always bad. If you are super skinny, you probably need some. If you are super skinny, you probably don't have a lot of testosterone because you need to get more muscle. Even if you're more obese, having red meat once a week is going to raise that testosterone, which is also a fat inhibitor, right? The more muscle you build, the less fat you're likely to get. And now here's the other thing, because let's be honest here, where do most people get their calories from if they're over the age of 21? They get it from what?
Drinking.
Exactly.
Alcohol.
So, no product placement here, but if you're going to drink something that's lower calorie, like the White Claw. 100 calories. Exactly.
Sponsorship opportunity. Now give us a little pitch on White Claw. Like, and that's why I support White Claw.
Exactly.
This is a proud sponsorship of White Claw.
Here.
That's funny. You know, like JT and I, when we met up with each other in San Diego, we you know, like we just like kind of ate like whatever we wanted. I mean, I remember we went to that like Italian restaurant, and then we had that like cheese wheel like pasta thing, which was freaking fantastic. It was so freaking good. But yeah, you know, just in general, like the you know, like we didn't really care. I mean, I just knew that if I was gonna go there and I was in San Diego, most likely Primal says like, oh no, not the claw. Get that man a scotch. Primal studies. I also like to drink claw too, but not claw. I like I don't like that. I don't like White Claw in general. I'm more of like a Topo Chico guy, and Topo Chicos are fucking fantastic. If you guys haven't had that, it's like probably the best seltzer. But you know, just you know, I knew that if I was going to go on vacation, it was going to be a very I was going to have to indulge myself. So one thing I learned actually from my trainer, I don't know if you guys agree with this statement, but he said, you know, just if you know you're gonna have like a cheat meal like later on, or you're gonna go on vacation, then kind of just prepare yourself for it. So, you know, eating less carbs, like, you know, even Primal Study says something really good here. He corrected himself on this comment, but he's saying that carbs are not inherently bad. It's just Americans typically have way more or have way too much of the carbs. And I agree with that. I don't think carbs are bad at all. If you know how to control it, then you'll be okay.
Right.
But the statement is this, guys, and anybody open on the panel can speak up on this. What he was saying is that if you are, let's say, going on vacation, or you know you're going to have like a cheat meal dinner, your breakfast, lean, clean, straight to the point. Lunch, same thing. Like if I'm going to, let's say, eat a cheeseburger tonight, in the day, I'm going to have, let's say, chicken and broccoli only, or maybe like a little bit of rice with some broccoli and some chicken or something like that. Just so I can, so if you're somebody who's counting your calories, then you would know up to a certain point that this is within the range you're supposed to have. And as long as you're hitting your protein target and you're within that caloric deficit range or caloric maintenance or whatever it is you're going to go for, you should be okay. I see Chris, go ahead, and then LeRoy after.
Here's
please.
what I'm going to say about that. So here's the thing. You don't want to be completely starving during the day, because that's not good either. Because what's going to happen is you're going to have the tempted snack. And if you have the tempted snack, I don't care how much willpower you have. You can have the willpower of an Astartes Space Marine for the Emperor. You're going to end up snacking at some point. That's going to add calories. And let's be honest here, we're not in a really healthy, sustainable country. Well, we're in a country that has a lot. We'll put it that way, right? But a lot of unhealthy stuff, to put it lightly. So when it comes to eating before you go on the big date, I'll give you a couple of tips. A, it's okay to have a bigger lunch so you don't snack as much during the time before the date. So that's a big thing as well. Another thing, when you're on the date, look at the menu. And I'll give you a little tip at an Italian restaurant, because actually I took my recent girlfriend there to go out and have some food. Especially if you're into the carb, especially if you're into pasta. Usually they're going to have two different types of pasta. They're going to have, like, you know, your regular pasta where they get the hardened up, you know, things that they boil and type of stuff, and they put the fancy, you know, dressing or the gravy or sauce, whatever you want to call it, on there. But then they have the stuff that's made from scratch. And usually that's the stuff that's more expensive. But the fact that it's actually made from scratch, it's a lot better for you because it's actually naturally made than the stuff that has all the preservatives in it. So that's something that you should also keep in mind. You can always find healthy options on a menu.
LeRoy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the ability to find healthy options on a menu. But you had a great point, Cam, and the diet, it does come down to numbers more than anything. You have a range you need to hit that number. And it's that simple for most people. And I think with all these different ways to eat, we want to make it fancy and make it fucking cute. It's down to the numbers, you know? And some people have other kind of barriers, health-related barriers, and they may need to learn about those things. And if you're one of those people, if you're going with the numbers and you're working out a certain amount of times and you're not seeing results, it's something else. And that's when you consult a professional to help you out a little bit. And I think that cannot be understated. But in general, I think we've heard some great stuff. I definitely, I want to definitely say Chris is eating throughout the day is going to be the best way to do that, because if you're front loaded and then you're worried about not ruining your numbers the rest of the day, if you're gonna backload it for dinner, you don't want to deprive yourself too much, so that you can successfully get everything and try to hit those numbers. And got to be perfect as long as you're around there, right?
Right.
Range. I think range has been the biggest takeaway so far from all this. It's all about that range, man. I mean, that was huge when you said that as well. All about that range. And I think that kind of puts out the societal pressure, just to go back to that topic for a moment. I mean, I think like that removes the societal pressure a lot. I mean, look, I've been complimented before for my physique, and I do not have 6-pack abs. I have like a relatively good body, but I look at myself sometimes and I'm disappointed. I'm kind of like, God damn it. I want to look like either like Chris, or I want to like have like, bigger arm, bigger chest, bigger this, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
I got to jump in here for a minute, if you don't mind, because there's actually a scientific study that's done on this type of stuff. So there actually is a ratio of attraction. Believe it or not, you don't need 6-pack abs. You don't need to look like Adonis. You need to have at least a 1.6 to a 1. A 1.6 ratio in the shoulders to a 1 in the hips if you're a man. That is the scientific, actually proven, general overall ratio of attraction. If you at least, and you can even see this even in, if you want to go anthropologic, look at all of the Egyptian sculptures, right? All the Egyptian art, right? What do all of these politicians in Egyptian art from ancient Egypt have in common?
They have like the V-taper look, like Primal Studies is saying.
Exactly. The V-taper look, the upside down triangle, as we always call it, right?
Yeah.
Why is that the case? It looks a lot more visual appealing. You're going to be able to gauge a lot more, not just from girls, also from other people. If you have the upside down triangle look, it's natural that people are going to be more drawn to you. That's just the way it is. They're just going to look at you more because it's a more attractive look if you're a guy. That's just the way it is.
And I just wanted to add in closing, because I know we got to get ready to head out soon because we at the hour mark. But just to tie in all that, right? Diet is so key, everybody. Like, once I changed my diet, I was able to like do numbers sexually, physically, wrestling. Like, it improved my life so much, and the amount of energy that I have with me changing my diet. Oh man, I barely ever get sick now. It's because of my diet. So
absolutely,
I believe probably 80% of the disease is in our gut. So a lot of issues that we have, whether it's high blood pressure or constant headaches, all these issues we have in society that we normalize, where once you get 40, 50 years old, you're on high blood pressure medicine, stuff that's supposed to be normal. It's not normal to be sick. You know what I'm saying? And that comes from wear and tear of putting bad stuff in your body. So I just think that if you are watching this, it's very key to watch what you eat. It's just like a car, it's just whatever you put in your body, so that body wear and tear. So I hear a lot of people say, oh yeah, well, I've been doing this since I've been, 30 and 40 and, and I'm still alive and I'm still well, but why you think you're on medicine? But why do you think that you're on, dialysis? Issues that you're having? Because
why do you think you have a machine on your face every time you sleep?
Yeah. So diet is key, guys.
So for you, for JT, I mean, I've seen also for your, you're always taking like, I've seen your stories where you're posting selfies of your progress of your body. What has been the hardest part for you to get to that physique that you have so far? Because I'm like, damn, this guy's way more lean than I am. So I'm like, for me, I have a bad habit of late night snacking, eating excessively as well. Even though I have the physique that I have right now, but I'm still trying to like cut that just so I, I'm always about self-improvement. So I'm always trying to cut every stupid, like bad habit out of my life so I can just, be the more complete, abundant man that I want to be.
Yeah.
But for you, JT, like what have you used to help you to get to the point that you are now with your physique?
I think, now the issue I have now is I'm like so busy because I'm like doing a million things at once and I'm doing it all by myself. So
Yep.
it's hard for me to find time to work out as much as I used to. But now I'm fading off into that entrepreneur role and philanthropy role. It's so much paperwork. Like I'm in the process of getting a grant to build my community center in my neighborhood. So it's just so much stuff that I have to do. I'm not making excuses, but once I, look at myself in the mirror when I'm like getting out the shower or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me get into something tomorrow night or tomorrow morning. So I maintain, I'm still fit. I still work out. It's just not the capacity that I would like, but like I said, I still do my in-ring workout for training. I'm just maintaining at this point. I still want to be fit. I still want to wrestle, but it's just not as near as I used to be.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, do you have like any? You've helped me out in the past with like just different diets or not diets, but like just different fitness tips and advice and mindset advice. What is you say like the biggest issue the average guy is facing when he goes into the gym? Like, what are some things that he's doing that's like not helping him progress to where he wants to be, or even into the women out there that are listening to this?
Poor
like,
form. That's one of the biggest things. So first things first is poor form. One of the biggest things I always see is when people. I'll give an example. We all know the cable row where you come down like this, right?
Right.
A lot of people got too obsessed with Bruce Lee back in the day, and they always do it behind the head, or they only come down to here, or they don't do a complete bench press. If you're not going to do complete form, you're not going to get results, or the results are going to be minimal. You're not if you can't half-ass two things and expect to get one thing from a whole ass, right? You got a whole ass one thing in order to get full results. That's just the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm. LeRoy, unmute yourself. Go ahead, LeRoy.
One more time. Just one more time.
You can't half-ass two things to expect the results of whole-assing one thing, right?
Ooh, I like that.
I'm going to put that right there. You can't, I'll say it again. You can't half-ass two things in order to expect the results of whole-assing one thing. You whole-ass one thing, you're going to get the max results that way. That's just the way it is. That's how it's been for generations. I didn't make the rules. Nature did. The other thing is this. A lot of people have bad habits of doing certain, let's just say, things on a consistent basis that make them consume more than they need. For example, and Cam, we've talked about this, a lot of people like a certain plant. Usually this plant is either consumed via a brownie or via a rolled up personal cigarette. And when they smoke it, it makes them feel ha 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 ha, but later it makes them go yum 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 yum. When you have too much yum 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 yum, what ends up happening is ba 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 ba. So to decrease the bigness, right? Decrease the amount of bad habits that you have. That's just one thing as well. The less bad habits that you have, the better your results are going to come and the quicker they are. And that's just the biggest part. Like for it, like even right now, if you were to give up eating Taco Bell or some fast food, I guarantee you lose 10 pounds right away. And if you were to replace those calories with something even better, or even replace that with just drinking water, you're going to have a much better time losing the weight, and it's going to be a lot easier for you. You allow your body to get used to not having that, having the 20 questions of your body, and now you can actually introduce better things into your body that are going to improve your physique, improve your mental stability, improve your physical ability and physical prowess. So instead of feeling like, some slouched over guy at the cubicle, you're now feeling like Master Chief ready to take on the Covenant.
I like that. I always call Chris the king of the analogies. He's very, very good at analogies. I want to ask LeRoy a question regarding just when it comes to leadership. So, with like health and fitness being in check, how much do you think that people? I know your character is obviously going to play a big role in people believing in you, LeRoy. But would you say that health and fitness? I mean, it's kind of obvious that yes, the more in shape you look, the more people take you seriously. But like, I guess what I want to frame the question is like leadership and health and fitness. Like, do you feel like those two they have or just health and fitness and leadership? Do you feel like they have a connection with one another that that the way, you know, how you feel about yourself, obviously, like people can, you'll be more influential and people will take you more seriously. Would you agree with that?
I think it's an integrity thing. You know, if I, you know, it may not necessarily have anything to do with how you look, but if I know that my leader, or, you know, if I'm in a leadership position, I want to lead by example. And if it's a question of integrity, like if here's what I'll say. How you do one thing is how you do all things, right? We all know this, you know? So I cannot lead a team. I can't take care of a team. I can't make sure they do what they got to do if I'm not doing what I got to do. And if I'm not taking care of myself. And that fitness, again, it doesn't have anything to do with how you look necessarily. I think, you know, people are biased to the good look, to that ratio Chris is talking about. But, you know, if I can look to a leader and know, yo, he busts his ass in everything he does. And maybe it's not literally busting his ass, but like he's got it all tight. You know, he's got it together. He wants a healthy, clear mind, body, spiritual balance. I can take that person more seriously, you know, and it may not be fitness, but if I know, like, shit, I'm not gonna name names, but I do have a leader in mind who over works out, you know, to the point of, you know, injuries on the way. And you know that's happening. And I cannot respect that. You know, you can't, you know, have anything good to say about how we should be treating our bodies with you treating yours like that. And that's overworking it. That's underworking it. That's letting yourself deteriorate. You know, I can't trust that person's word because of how they treat themselves. So I think it's extremely important. And again, I do really want to harp on, you know, we can't tell someone's fitness story all the way by how they look, you know.
Yes,
but like
correct.
I see and know this information, I can be like, yo, this person's working hard, they're trying to improve themselves. I can listen to what they say and want to follow them.
And then touching upon that, actually, Cam, could you do me a favor? I want you to abusive juke. I want you to highlight his comment real quick. So he says, that's true, but learning what body type you got is the best way to learn what portions you should eat with carbs and protein per day. Not just that. What type of physical activity you're going to be good at as well is also going to be determined by your body type. So to those who don't know what we're talking, that don't know what, you know, what's being said here, there's 3 sets of body types that we generally talk about in the fitness industry: ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph. Mesomorph is the most common. I'm a mesomorph, you know, JT, LeRoy is they're mesomorphs.
How do you know that? How do you know they're mesomorph?
Good question.
The reason why is because I can tell by their frame, right? They have the you know, a good muscular frame, but they still have like a relatively thinner figure, right?
Okay.
Cam, you have more of an ectomorph figure. You're a little bit more lanky. You have a little bit more longevity to you within your limbs.
JT is an ectomorph as well.
You're an ectomorph. However, you have guys who are a lot more burly. They have a lot more of a big shoulder, even bigger than. Listen, I think I have good traps, but I see some guys that look like they're about to pounce on you. That are a lot more short. They look like little pit bulls. Those are endomorphs, right? Okay. So you could also just figure out what sports, what type of activity you're going to be a lot better at. Like, for instance, if you're a jiu-jitsu player, you're going to be better at being an ectomorph or even a mesomorph, because you can play a lot more guard. You can play a lot more different chokes. You can actually play your lengthiness to what you want. And the same goes even with an endomorph if you're able to, you know, ball up a little bit and get under your opponent. But if you're an endomorph, you have an advantage if it comes to like doing throws like in judo, right? If you're an ectomorph, you're going to be better at something like basketball because you had the length to do it. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind as well. What exercises are going to benefit you when you're going into this sort of, you know, fitness realm? Your body type is going to help you determine that. Not that you can't build muscle if you're 6 foot and you have a 6'3" wingspan like someone I know in Japan, but you will know what better workouts to do, which are going to be less painful, which are going to be more accommodating to your body type as well. I just want to point that out too.
JT, do you want to say something?
Yeah, can you bring Abusive Juke up again?
Yeah,
Because
I'm
that's
gonna
a
bring it
good
up.
friend of mine's, man. We met years ago at a McDonald's, and he's been supporting me, following me since. And he works out. He's in the gym. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at him like, man, I need to come work out with you, man. And he's like, hey, look, anytime. But man, shout out to him. He's been supporting me since day one. He was actually, fun fact, he was actually there the night I won my first heavyweight championship. He was there, and I got the first picture with him. So shout out to my good friend, man. Salute.
That's awesome. What did it feel like? What did it feel like winning that? Like, when you finally, I'm waiting for my, for me to hit my stride in my business, and I'm winning. And I do have, like, moments of coming up in my business where I interviewed certain people. I'm like, damn, I finally did. And I kind of give myself like a, pat on the back. What did it feel like for you, JT, when you first won that championship?
It was at first, I kind of got caught up in politics because the guy that I beat for it, he didn't want to lose because I was a lot smaller and thinner than him. He's like, you shouldn't be this, you shouldn't be that, man. So it was just like a little politics involved. But once I got over that, which it didn't take long because I'm not really into politics. I'm here to do my job and I'm here to put on a good show. I was really, really happy, man. I was really happy because I don't put time constraints and time frames on myself. It's just like, I'm gonna do it. I don't know how long it's gonna take me to do it, but I'm gonna do it, kind of thing, right? And I was able to do it within 3 years of me wrestling. So it was like a huge deal to me. Everybody was there, and it was so funny because that week, that was my first time actually talking to kids out of elementary school. So they were all there because I talked to them early that week. So it was just a very, very special moment. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. What about you, LeRoy? What was your, like, favorite moment during your wrestling career?
Oh man, there are so many. There's so many. I think I'll say there was one moment I wrestled a man by the name of Chase Owens in Canada, in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Crazy crowd, like 600 people, which is pretty, like, decent for an independent show.
That's huge. 600 people.
Yeah, and
Damn, that's huge, man.
They were nuts, just ape shit. And Chase Owens is part of this big group called the Bullet Club, and it was one of the hottest things in wrestling at the time. It's still pretty hot, and he wrestled in Japan. Too sweet me, baby. He just very good, and we wrestled the night before in Winnipeg, and then drove 8 hours to Thunder Bay, and we had like we had one match, and then for this bigger crowd we had a more intricate match, and I was like, yo, how am I going to keep up with this guy? Like, he's so good. And by the end I was like, that was like one of my favorite matches to watch back. I watch it and cringe at a little bit of stuff now because it was a decent amount of time ago. But for them, it was amazing. Like, one of the best matches ever. I go to Thunder Bay and I'm remembered always for it. And it was one of the first nights where I was like, okay, I'm good at this. And that company, I was, my next tour, main event every, almost every show, and that's a big responsibility to close out the show. And it's a big honor. And it's, it's recognition. It's like, I'm at a level now that's like, I've definitely leveled up, and truly got to see that and see the result of that in many facets of my life. So it's a special time. It's like, wow, like it was first day. Like, I knew I was good at this, but it was like, oh wow, like I'm really good at this now, and I got to keep running with it. So that and my WWE tryout was an amazing time as well. Definitely a favorite memory. Definitely like an anchored memory that I go to, and when it's like, yo, you can do shit. You can do shit. You can do it well, and let's bring that energy to this whatever your task is at hand.
I gotta ask about that. What was that like, trying out for the WWE? Because I don't think I've ever shared this, but when I was a kid, I was also a big WWE fan. Like, I was a big Rey Mysterio fan as well. Like, I loved watching WWE as a kid. So what was it like actually trying out for the WWE?
I want to add to that too when he's done. That's crazy.
Yeah. It was you go to the Performance Center, which is this big facility they have in Florida, and I had one tryout for them before that was at a smaller kind of tryout that I guess essentially got me this tryout. And I don't know. Like it's like I feel blacked out for most of it. Like that's how the overall feeling is. But looking back at it, I trained hard as hell for it, harder than I ever trained. I had an amazing coach and amazing local group of guys that I trained with that really supported me in getting to that moment. So I honestly went in with an absurd amount of confidence and was like, I'm going to be the best fucking person at this goddamn thing. And I truly feel like I was. And I did get news that I would be signed, and they ended up changing their mind, which is the short version of that story. It was exactly what JT said. Professional athletes there from NFL, NBA, or hopefuls or whatever high level college athletes that were fucking ruined by the cardio that we did. And cardio that I was like, oh, this is hard, but I'm prepared for it. Like I'm fine, and it was good. The entire weekend was like that, just confidence on high, walking in like I belong there. You see wrestlers there, but I feel like at that point in my career, I was kind of desensitized to seeing famous people, but it's also always nice to see them. And one of my favorite moments is during my tryout match. So you have these few days of cardio promos, which is when we're essentially talking shit to each other. So you film promos, and they're they get it's very important so they can see some of your personality, some of your we're back to the word range, like what kind of what kind of personality you can produce, or so that it gives them an opportunity to kind of see what they can kind of make you, like where you are and what can they create with you. And then the last day you have tryout matches if you have wrestling experience. The people who don't have wrestling experience going in, which you can try out for the WWE without wrestling experience. And if you look good enough or have a nice athletic build, they will teach you how to wrestle. And that's how it goes. So the people that had wrestling experience got to do tryout matches. And the rest of the, before that, the cardio drills, etc., very easy to pick up. If you aren't coachable, you can't learn. That's a note to them as well. But most things people can learn and get through cardio wise. Then the tryout matches happened, and I wrestled a really great guy, a veteran in the business, who helped me out a lot in the match as far as putting it together and making it make sense for where we were. And one of the biggest wrestlers of all time, Shawn Michaels, was watching my tryout match, and that is something that I'll never.
That's dope. That's dope.
Yo, we're
talking
Sweet Chin Music, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, Sweet Chin Music, Shawn Michaels. I'm on the ground telling. I look over. I'm like, oh shit, Shawn Michaels is watching this shit. Let's go.
That's pretty freaking cool. That's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, that's a tip. And then you get, they put you in a car. You have your roommate, and then it's like, all right, we got everybody rental cars. Like, here's your car. You are responsible for each other. Make sure everyone is where they need to be when they need to be there. Blah blah blah. And I bonded so hard with my car. Like it was crazy stuff. We chat, now and then still. Yeah, it was a crazy time, fun time, stressful time. But when it came time to perform, like that was the least stress. Every time outside of the building, it was like, fuck, when do we need to be back? Like, what time we're going to get here an hour early?
Damn. That's awesome.
That's
all right, well, I got to go, but I wanted to say that's fucking awesome. Holy shit.
Yeah. Fun time.
Yeah, I wanted to hear JT. So just we're going to wrap up the episode in just a moment. I just want to get JT's, he said he wanted to add on to what LeRoy was saying. So after JT, we're going to just, give each other, where we can find each other on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll close the episode. So go ahead, JT.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Rory. That was awesome. I had a tryout in 2019, but I didn't get the invite to Florida. I think it's two separate trials. They have the one where they're personally inviting you to Florida, and the other one is they hire you as an extra. So I was basically hired as a talent for 3 days. I traveled with them for 3 days as an extra talent. So I was paid for that. And yeah, the first day there it was a live pay-per-view. It was Money in the Bank pay-per-view. And when we got there, it seemed like everybody was so laid back. And Beth Phoenix, she's a female wrestler. She's married to Edge now. And she walked up to all of us and she was like, everybody's here is human, just like you. Don't be afraid. Don't be starstruck. They're human. So just just be you. She said a lot of times if they're in a meeting or if they're busy, don't bother them. But if they're free and they look like they're able to talk, just go up to them and introduce yourself. Just be comfortable. And I'm like, okay, all right, cool. I can do that. And it was just an experience, man. Like just seeing these guys, how they look, how they work out. They also have catering food. I don't know if Roy knows about the catering, but
I know about the catering. Let's go.
That food there that they have, and I mean, it's a diet for everybody. Whatever you eat, whatever you don't eat, they have it there at the catering. WWE catering food. It's fantastic. So yeah, it was just amazing just seeing how everything operate. I didn't honestly think I was gonna get a chance to wrestle in the ring. I just didn't think I was. I just was there for that extra spot. If they needed me for on TV personnel to be like a security or like a doctor or anything, any role they need you to fulfill on live TV, they'll grab you, But we was getting paid whether we was used or not. And then the last day, which was a Tuesday night SmackDown, and we didn't think that we were going to wrestle, have our tryout so we can get in the ring and show what we can do. And then literally an hour before doors open, they called us like, yeah, put your gear on, everybody's going to get a chance to wrestle. So we were like so excited. So I was like super happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna kill it. I'm gonna go out there and kill it. So
yeah,
a lot of guys that were there, they were picking guys that they wanted to wrestle with. They knew a lot of the guys, and the guy that I was wrestling, I didn't know him. He's seen inexperienced, so I try to put together the most simplest match that we can get through, and we can kill it. Man, we got out there, and man, he just got nervous, and it just was the drizzling shits, man. I'm like, oh yeah, they definitely not signing me, and I was just like so mad. The referees came up to me, like Randy Orton came up to me. He's like, yo, kid, like you're amazing, man. Keep doing your thing. But he laughed. He was like, yeah, you definitely got to work on getting bigger, but man, I can definitely see you getting signed in a couple years and stuff like that. But yeah, man, just my whole experience. I had fun. I learned so much, but it just made me realize that curtain stage, I'm not ready for WWE. I just knew, like, you know what I mean? I was like, nah, I wouldn't sign me. You know what I'm saying? Just looking at how everybody looked. They look in shape. Everybody's, you can even the guys that are small, their triceps or just everything is just massive. All these guys work out, you know what I'm saying? So I just was like, and then like with the commercial breaks, they got to buy commercial timing, and just it was just so much. I'm like, yeah, I'm not ready for that yet, but I would love to do this someday. But it was fun.
And you're still making an impact too. Like, I mean, even for like myself, I don't see myself as being, I'm a content creator, but I don't know. I haven't hit it yet where I'm like viral, but I mean, I've had some like few somewhat viral videos, but I'm kind of going in a direction where it's like, if I don't hit the content creator, famous dating coach identity, I can still have other alternatives to still serve what I like to do. I still like to help men become better with dating. I still can help the community in some shape or form and bring impact. There's always like a way to go about it. You don't have to be the professional wrestler. You can work behind the scenes. And then you can help kids with just like, you can teach classes on wrestling for kids and stuff like that. I don't know if that's like, something that's out there or whatever, but you can be the first person to do it. So there's different ways of going about it.
Right.
But I want to say like, thank you, LeRoy, JT, and Chris for sharing your guys' stories. Thank you for sharing your advice on fitness in the world of wrestling as well. And also just, different things I've learned. I learned a lot from you guys, from you guys today. And so thank you guys for coming on. And I want to say, starting with Chris, where can people find you? If you have any personal websites, to all you guys right now, if you guys have any personal websites, any books coming out, any things coming out, any community things coming out, whatever you guys want to share, starting with Chris, then JT, and then LeRoy at the end.
All right. So a couple of things. First things first. So JT and LeRoy, we're going to be staying in touch because I'm interested in doing some of this wrestling stuff because it looks awesome. And I always wanted to do it as a kid as well. So we're going to be keeping in touch, especially you and me, JT, because I know you're local. We're going to be keeping in touch, my boy. Don't you worry.
Okay.
You can find me at Frame Fitness and Fighting on YouTube. You can also find me on FFF_Matico. It's right here. FFF_Matico. That's my Instagram. I also have a project in the works as well that I didn't even announce this to Cam yet. We'll talk about this at a later time, but I shared it with HUDs. I shared it with someone else and certain someone. And it's going to be very different from the other content that I've created. It's not even fitness related. So I'll
I'm
show you a little
excited to
bit of
see
that,
it.
and I'm gonna keep I'll keep you in the loop. Okay.
Hell
About
yeah. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for always coming on, man. And thanks for being a good friend as always, brother. So let's go to JT.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are looking at JT Funk, baby. So
yeah, let's go.
let's go. Yes, so my Instagram is at the JT Funk. My Twitter is at the JT Funk. Everything is at the JT Funk. My website, I have my own. I'm probably like the only professional wrestler who has his own website. Yay! So my website is www.thejtfunk.com. So once you get to my website, I need you to scroll all the way to the bottom, and there's an email list. Type in your email and hit subscribe. Okay, I need you to do that right now if you're watching this, so that way you can be updated with JT Funk. This community center that I talked about earlier that I'm going to get built, you'll know when the community center is up and running. You come check it out. So definitely go to www.thejtfunk.com and scroll all the way to the bottom and subscribe for that email list. But everything else is the JT Funk. Instagram, the JT Funk. Twitter, the JT Funk. Facebook, the JT Funk. I try to keep it the same, so make it easier for people. Or Facebook, you can just type JT Funk, it'll pop up. But yes, my website is thejtfunk.com. I'm JT Funk, and as Clubhouse say, I'm done speaking.
Perfect. Thank you, JT. And of course, thank you for being that clubhouse guy that we could always depend on for some good content and good conversations. Now we got Mr. LeRoy Flash Gordon in the house. Thank you, JT.
Yeah, crew. Thanks, Greg, Cam. Thanks for having us on. It's been a really fun time. You all can find me. Instagram is my jam. It's at Roy Flash Gordon on Instagram. You can also follow my Main Event Mindset podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, Main Event Mindset YouTube channel. If you prefer to watch it, go and subscribe to all that good stuff. And 12-week coaching program, also Main Event Mindset. You can ask me about that on Instagram as well. And I also have a guide out to help you get past your fears. If you're looking to do a little deep work, you can ask me about that on Instagram. Also link in bio for all of that cool stuff as well. Thanks for coming or having me on here, Cam. I'm so used to saying thanks for coming on to people I interview. Thank you for having me on, sir.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have all you guys on the stream. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you for all the stuff you do for our community, for helping everybody out. This was a great episode. This was episode 3 of The Next Step. We talked about health, fitness, and mindset. You guys have a great evening. Have a great rest of your day, and enjoy the weekend coming up. And we're all going to have a great, abundant life for us going forward. You all have a great night.
Peace.
Yes, sir.
Peace.